the gym. Old stomping grounds. Hank Patterson, fly fishing guide.
Riley Smith, tight end.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, you wouldn't happen to be the kicker?
No, tight end.
Again, thank you. I'm looking for a kicker for Lithia Ford's fall kickoff sale. But you're not the kicker.
No.
Yeah. Nah, the kicker's probably taller and in a lot better shape. So, okay. What position do you play?
Tight end.
Squats. Yeah, try it sometime.
I may be retired, but I still have finances to manage. With direct deposit and automatic payments, ICCU makes it easy to spend less time banking and more time baking.
RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, is going all in this season with an all-star lineup. First up, he led the Broncos to 3 conference championships and 10 20-win seasons. It's Coach Leon Rice. Next, he's the founder and CEO of RowPaint.com. He played a little basketball in high school on the driveway with his mom. It's Andy Rowe.
Oh, no. Want to just paint my house?
Now that I can do. When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust RowPaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's 4-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing? BJ Rains, Jay Tust with you. It is a Tuesday edition of Bronco Nation News Live, presented by RowPaint.com. Check them out, ROEPaint.com, for all your painting needs. They are our title sponsor here at Bronco Nation News, and we are super appreciative of them. Perfect time to, when the weather's getting colder, Jay, if you need some interior painting touched up, anything your painting needs, let them take care of it for you at RowPaint.com. It is Tuesday. Tomorrow is signing day. We got some football coaching news to talk about, but I also want to talk about the transfer portal today, Jay, and a lot of fans on social media are getting a little antsy, a little nervous that there's been a lot of movement at other schools, but not as much at Boise State, at least publicly, the last couple of days here. So I did want to get into the transfer portal and just how if fans should be concerned or worried about that. I want to get into the assistant coach salary pool as well, because you start adding up the total and the 3 they already have, and they're going to have to do some maneuvering here with some of this. If you do the average, kind of felt like I was doing a DraftKings lineup yesterday, Jay. I had how many coaches are left, what's the total, and the average is 195 or whatever for the remaining coaches. So we'll get into that. But they're going to have some decisions to make, I think, there. But most importantly, I don't know if I saw this on Twitter or not yet, Jay. You did send me. I was honored to get the text with the private photo. But the Tust family Christmas lights are officially up. And what was the final total number of bulbs and things? I know you're big on the stats.
I'm gonna get there. I got to go add it up. In all honesty, it took me probably like a week to finish, just because of how busy everything was with work. I didn't have a full day just to dedicate to it. So I got to go back and add it up eventually here. But
anything new this year? Is it the same? Is it the same setup?
Pretty close. Maybe a couple little new things, but nothing too crazy. So,
are you getting any help from the kiddos yet?
No. No.
So you make Camille get on the ladder? Come on.
Nope, not that either, man. Not that either. You know the way dad life is. You're out there hanging off the side of your house in the freezing cold by a ladder by yourself for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. We put some lights up. We've done some small things, but this is actually the first year we did not put a big tree up because last year was the kind of the last year of we had one of those pre-lit, trees, and it was real nice for a while, and the lights were starting to not work. And so last year we said, okay, this is the last year of this tree. We're throwing it away. Mm-hmm. We're getting a new tree next Christmas. And you're the real tree guy, right? And don't you go real tree too?
Big real tree guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
We went,
I gotta say, man, I get tested every year, but I'm still stubborn. I'm still going with the real trees.
I just get the risk of like the potential fire and all that. Just I don't think it's worth it. And the little things all over the ground. But the one we bought had all this like tinsel and stuff that was like always falling off anyway. So there's like glitter all over the floor. And but anyway, we're actually heading out of town to St. Louis for a couple of days for Christmas this year. And we've had so much traveling with the bowl game and everything else. We just didn't think it made sense to go pony up for a brand new Christmas tree that we weren't even gonna see. So we've got some small Christmas stuff. We do have the lights. Naismith got up there on the ladder and helped with the lights, but kind of a different Christmas this year with heading out of town for a couple of days. But always enjoy the number. The best stat of the year from Jay Tust is the tweet with the final Christmas bulb numbers. So I'm looking for you need to get on that.
I'll get it for you soon. We'll have it soon. I'll tally it up.
You got to compare it to last year, and we got to get
it's been nice to actually have a day off. So I got another one today for the most part. So I'll do that before.
I'm sure there'll be some coaching news. There'll be some other stuff. We got plenty to get to.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's start with the coaching news. James Montgomery retained, hired. I'm really not sure how we call this because they're giving him new deals, but they are staying on staff, but it's a new staff and a new coach. So I guess there's different ways you can phrase it, Jay. James Montgomery staying on a new 2-year contract. He gets a nice raise. He was supposed to make $215, I believe, this year. He gets $235, and then he's going to get $245 next year. So first, I do want to kind of break this down and all the different salaries and the money left and all this. But just first, James Montgomery, we saw what Ashton Genty did, George Halani. I think this was kind of a no-brainer, but just your thoughts on James Montgomery coming back.
I like it. I think that James did a great job with the running backs this year. And I know that people are like, well, is the room talented or is he a good running backs coach? And I think both can be true. Let's not overlook the fact that, when Breezy Dubar came in this year, he looked like he was good and ready to go. And yes, he's a talented kid, but he looked like he was prepared. And I don't think that there was a moment where the running backs weren't, prepared this year. So whether it be Tyler Crow, Caden Dudley, Breezy Dubar, Ashton Genty, George Halani, I think the group really performed at a high level overall this year.
By the way, there's a shot at Brady Frederick on here. Come on. He says he was assigned to come over and do the Christmas prep for you at the house.
Nah, man. Nah, I take pride in it. I'm very meticulous in my my decorations. So my dad was a master exterior illuminator. Yeah. So I've tried to follow in his footsteps.
Well, you do a heck of a job. And yeah, KTVB was rolling 3 deep down there to the LA Bowl. So you guys had some great coverage on your pregame show and things. And hopefully folks checked out KTVB. I know you guys will be all over signing day tomorrow, and we'll get to that. But you now have 3 coaches in the fold. You have, I guess, 4 if you count Spencer Danielson. But in terms of the assistant coaches, Jay, we now have both coordinators and we have a running backs coach. And by the way, I've seen it reported elsewhere. Boise State's looking for a defensive line coach. They are not. Eric Chinander is staying on as the defensive line coach and the defensive coordinator. So they're looking for a linebackers coach, correct, to replace Spencer Danielson. And then they now need a safeties coach to replace Kane Ione. And we don't know yet if they're looking for another coach to replace somebody else, or if we're going to get an announcement just that there's a new coach, and then we'll know, okay, that means that guy's not returning. I only can think of 1 or 2 candidates. There's an obvious one that we can at least talk about, but for the most part, I think we're expecting most of the, if not everybody else, to be back, except for the 2 open spots that they have to fill. But you start looking at the money here, Jay. They get $2.5 million to use for the assistant coaches. And you look at the money that they have already shelled out to a couple of these assistant coaches, and the pool starts getting a little bit smaller, which I think, could telegraph some of this stuff. But you look at Bush Hamden, $460,000 Eric Chenander, $440,000. James Montgomery, $235,000. You get $2.5 million for the salary pool, so that leaves you with $1.365 million for the 7 remaining assistants. That's an average of $195,000 per coach. Well, last year you only had one coach make less than that. Jabril Frazier was $120,000. You did have Matt Miller right at $195,000, but Tim Keene was $235,000. Nate Potter was $235,000, and the one that I had kind of forgotten about and really did surprise me, and I think some fans weren't pumped to see it on social media, but Demario Warren was the 3rd highest paid coach last year, $260,000, I believe. I guess Kane Ione's getting removed from that as well. But what do you make of the 3 they've hired, the money they've spent, and guys that return you think are going to want raises? So they may have to go a little on the, I hate to say the cheap side because that's not fair to whoever they hire, but they may have to, with these 2 new hires they're going to add, go with some guys maybe that have a little less experience.
Potentially. I mean, that's usually the case, right? When you reload, I mean, they're looking to basically hire, 2 coaches right now, right? So, I mean, like last year when they were trying to fill out their coaching staff, they brought in Jabril Frazier. They hired him for $120,000, which in the coaching world is kind of, the low end of it, I guess, at least at this level. So yeah, I think, it'll all work itself out. Did Miller really make that much last year?
Believe so. Yeah. 195. I've got the official number here. It was, let's see, I'm looking at the USA Today salaries. He made 160 in both 2021 and 2022, and it went up to 195 in 2023, according to USA Today. I
remember if he hit that escalator that soon, or if it was a little lower than that. Cause excuse me, at one point I thought that he did take a little bit of a pay cut at some point in time, but
according to the USA Today database here, which usually is pretty spot on, he was 160 in both 2021 and 2022, went up in 2023. And then, as I said, Kane Ione made 225. So, yeah, Demario Warren was the 3rd highest paid assistant coach on Boise State staff last year at $260,000. Now, he did have special teams coordinator to go with the corner position. But that for me, Jay, and I'm not like calling for his job or whatever, but if there was one spot they were looking to make a change, that might potentially be it when you factor in the amount of money he made and what some people might call, subpar performance in some areas.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know. I mean, it's hard to kind of speculate about that, whether a coach is or isn't coming back. I feel like there's a lot of movement towards Danielson really retaining almost every single one of these guys. Yeah. So I would be really surprised. I don't know. I could be very, very wrong, but I just would be surprised if something like that happened. I think that some of this stuff is definitely in the works. They're negotiating contracts. Some of these contracts have probably already been negotiated, and they're just trying to wait for some final approval on them. So, I mean, you look at J-Mo's deal. I mean, I know that was announced yesterday, but it's been pretty much done for a week or so now.
Yeah, he signed it on the 10th. So a lot of these probably have been quietly done, and they're kind of quietly gonna try to stay in the news here with maybe a different coach every day here. But that was
Hamden's was announced. He signed his on the 10th. It wasn't announced until the 15th or something, and then same with Eric Chenander. It took a couple of days for that to get out. So most of these deals are done. It's just waiting for the final reveal, final approval, whatever it might be.
What do you make? I mean, I saw our old friend Brian Murphy tweet this, and some folks have kind of backed that up. But what do you make of the thought that this was a team that went 8-6, Jay, this year, and you bring back pretty much your entire coaching staff, and not to say that it was 100% Andy Avalos' fault, but that's almost essentially what you're saying. If it went 8-5, that's 3 straight years where you win the bowl game and 10 games last year, but you don't win a conference championship. I think most people would look at the last 3 years and say it's subpar overall from what Boise State's used to, and you're essentially bringing back the entire coaching staff minus 1 or 2 guys, except for the head coach. I think it is fair for Boise State fans to at least raise that question. Like, so are you basically saying it was 100% Andy Avalos and not any other coach was any kind of problem on this team if you're bringing everybody back and now giving, it looks like multi-year deals to most of these guys. So just what's your take on Spencer deciding to retain almost all of these coaches?
I mean, I think they started with the multi-year contracts beyond coordinators, probably this last previous, coaching cycle. So I get how fans, would speculate about that, but Danielson's been pretty adamant that he really likes a lot of guys on this staff, PJ.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. I was trying to hold that off. But
And
he's been really adamant.
For the first time, Jay, you were on mute, thankfully.
I don't know how many times he said that, I love the coaches on the staff. He's definitely implied that he wants to retain a lot of them, if not all of them. And just kind of from what I've heard, I think that's definitely trending towards what's going to happen. I will say this, there's going to be at least 2 new coaches on the staff, one for
defense,
safeties and the other for linebackers.
Where people would say need the most work. Yep.
Yeah. So, there's definitely going to be a couple of new coaches on the staff. And but on offense, if they can retain Tim Keene, amazing. If they get James Montgomery back, I think that's a great thing. There's Nate Potter. I think he's done a great job with the tight ends for what he was dealt. And Matt Lauder he's about to be a big time tight end in this conference, I believe. And he's got to develop some beyond that. But Matt Wagner was called upon when, late in his true freshman year to contribute. And I don't know how many times a true freshman tight end has been able to play for Boise State. It might have been the first time ever. So those are big time compliments. And I just think they really do have some good quality coaches on this staff, and Spencer believes in that.
Well, I will say, though, I think it is fair for fans to ask that question. So are you basically saying it was 100% Andy Avalos and nobody else? Because you're pretty much bringing most of the other guys back. I guess you could say Kane Ione left. Whatever, but he left to take a raise in a position somewhere else that was better. We'll see which coaches they add. But again, the timing, the finances have to work out here, where it does look like, if you give raises to these other guys, or at least keep them where they're at, you're going to have 2, you're probably not bringing in well-named, high-priced coaches unless it's some guy that got fired and is still getting paid somewhere else and you can offer him. By the way, I was looking at Eric Chenander's history on the assistant coach pool on USA Today. That dude made $800,000 for 5 straight years at Nebraska, man. Some of these guys, man, have just been banking. But Bush Hamden made over $700,000 at Washington for a couple of years as coordinator. But Eric Chenander was one that I looked at and was like, wow, he had 5 years where he essentially made $4 million at Nebraska, and then comes here and obviously takes a little bit of a pay cut last year, but now is bumped back up, into the mid 4s. But what a difference a year makes for Tim Keene, man. I think we all thought that he was a good coach and, a good guy, and it just hadn't, the O-line coach is the one that probably gets more criticism than anybody, but we wouldn't have found a ton of people last year, Jay, probably saying, or the year, we got to find a way to keep Tim Keene. And now you see what the O-line did this year. One of their best years, I think, collectively in a long time for the O-line. And you're saying there's no way you can lose Tim Keene, and I agree with you. But it's crazy in this business how opinions and things can change. See him with Spencer Danielson a year ago. No one's like, oh, you can't lose Spencer Danielson. He's the best defensive coordinator or whatever. They were 6th in the country. And then you fast forward a year and people are like, oh, how are you giving him a head coach after his defense was terrible this year? It's crazy in 1 year how opinions and things can change on a lot of guys.
Yeah, and maybe that'll happen with, somebody else on Boise State staff currently. But go back, being in preseason special, man. I think I said I was pretty hyped about the offensive line this year.
I'm gonna have to go check the tape on that.
Check the tape.
We'll have to see. Bronco Ray, not sure mixing with the staff up is going to change anything.
The greatest discussion to have here when we talk, it's talking about expectations, BJ. College football is changing. And as funny as I was waiting to come home, I said, I got a few minutes to take some questions from fans, and a number of fans had the same question. When is Boise State going to get back to, one said, making our city proud again. Another implied, going to the Fiesta Bowl and things like that. It's almost impossible to have those expectations or comparisons to the teams that did go to the Fiesta Bowl, because college football is in a completely different state right now. It is so different. And I know that we're going to talk about the transfer portal here in a second, BJ, and maybe this can be a little bit of a transition into that. But, I know fans are like, why isn't Boise State gotten a quarterback yet or anything like that? Well, Boise State still has to recruit. Boise State doesn't have the financial means to just go out and pay somebody. And if you look at the schools that are going out and securing their quarterbacks early in this process, they are going out and they are paying guys. Is that the number one reason that a guy goes to a school? No, but man, does it help you sign the dotted line in an expedited fashion? And if you're one of the schools that can't necessarily go do that, like I mean, it's the reality of it. That's Boise State right now.
Yep.
Then you're going to have to recruit. You're going to have to wait till more people hit the transfer portal, find the perfect fit that you believe is the guy for your program, and then attack him in the best fashion you possibly can. But it's really hard to kind of compare, current success, current expectations with those of yesteryear, because I'm telling you, and I'm not telling you, I'm just telling the members of Bronco Nation out there that, just think it should be a given. It's a very, very different time in college football. It's a very different time with NIL, the transfer portal, recruiting, what you can provide, what you can't provide, how you build a team. I mean, this is the best way that I could look at it, BJ. Coming back from the 2010 season into 2011, imagine the challenge that Boise State would have had keeping that 2011 squad together. Kellen Moore, Doug Martin, Nate Potter, George Iloka, Shane McClellan, Tyrone Crawford, Billy Wynn. I mean, Jarrell Gavins, Jamar Taylor. It would have been those. Nothing against the character of those guys, but I'm pretty sure that some of those guys would have been lured away by a big financial payday. At least I'm confident, at least a couple, right? And that roster would be nearly impossible to retain at Boise State these days. There would just, you're telling me again, I don't mean to wildly speculate here, but you're telling me going into a senior year, there's not, Georgia wouldn't have said, Doug, we'll give you $750 to come here. You're telling me there's not a school in UCLA wouldn't have been like, hey, Billy, we know you're from nearby. How's $300K sound to come play defensive line here?
Quarterback might have had an offer or two also.
Oh, he's the only one that I'm hopeful would have stayed, because he's just is who he is. But man, you're telling me that, after beating Georgia, that their fan base wanted to rally together and said, okay, that's the guy we need. Give him $2 million. Like that stuff is happening today, people. And it didn't happen back in that era. And so to compare, current expectations, a current team, current success to what happened back then it's really, really tough. And I know people don't want to hear it, but it is absolutely the reality of what's going on right now. And it is a big time uphill battle for Boise State. And BJ, I think we can kind of see it in the LA Bowl, bud. Let's call it what it is. And, Boise State got off to a really, really good start in that game. And it turns out that the backups at UCLA are pretty darn good too. And
you can say they're better than the backups at Boise State. It's fair.
They are. And you look at the quarterback situation. It was a weird quarterback situation for UCLA to begin with, but the guy that they can bring off the bench that he's either their QB2 or QB3 is still a 4-star guy that is really, really talented. And
the guy that started, who theoretically is below Garbers on the depth chart, still had some really nice runs and was doing some things as well. Both those guys did.
Yeah, but that was another thing that probably agitated me a little bit, is people trying to, and we talked about this, BJ, too, off air or whatever, is that people wanted to compare UCLA's quarterback situation to Boise State's quarterback situation. It's not even close. UCLA had a guy that came into the game with over 1,500 career passing yards, over 200 career attempts, has been on a college campus for 4 years. And Boise State was starting a kid that had never thrown a pass in a college football game before. He had taken 2 snaps in a college football game before, one a handoff, the other kneeling down against Utah State to secure that road victory. So it wasn't even close to, a reasonable comparison.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and we are going to transition here in a second, but final thing on the coaching staff. So we expect some news to kind of continue coming out on this, probably one a day, or it'll keep tricking out. As you said, most of it's probably done. So I would assume at some point today, just guessing, since we got one yesterday. I wish it wasn't at 7 p.m., by the way. Let's get this going a little earlier in the day. I'm not sure
with that, I'm
not sure the reason for that, but if we get some announcements throughout the week here, signing day tomorrow, I would assume they maybe want to get a couple of those out, because I don't know who we're getting in terms of talking tomorrow. So maybe there's more of a dump today with a couple of coaches. I don't know. But signing day tomorrow. In the past, we've gotten some of the assistant coaches on signing day, but with Spencer and also a new sports information department, I don't know if you've heard the plan on that yet. I haven't. So don't know what is happening with that. But at some point tomorrow, Spencer Danielson will do some sort of signing day press conference, and then we'll see if there's any other news on the coaches and stuff that leak out. But again, 3 coaches in the fold, 7 to go, and there are 5 other coaches, I guess, on staff that are in the mix and likely to return. I think Jabril Frazier, Matt Miller, Tim Keene, Nate Potter, DeMario Warren. Again, just personally, if they wanted to try to save some money somewhere and make another change, I think you could look at Warren, but as many fans have, but I expect him to be back with the rest of the coaches as well. And I enjoy talking to DeMario. I know he gets some flack and stuff, Jay, and amongst some of the fans for both those units that he ran at times struggling, but the guy knows football. The guy knows what he's talking about. I did a dumb kind of story on why that Leon Rice had an idea for these random weird long field goal kicks last year, and I kind of felt bad asking him because it was like a week after the Memphis game or something, but I already had it scheduled to talk to him, and he couldn't have been nicer. And he legitimately knows special teams. He legitimately knows football. Like when you hear him talk about the X's and O's, like Kent Riddle was another guy that I love talking to about punt lineups and things, because you just know these guys know so much about football when you hear them talk X's and O's, and you kind of forget about it as a normal fan, like stuff you don't even think about. And DeMario Warren knows his stuff and I believe is well liked within that locker room and that position group. So we'll see if what the situation is there, but I would suspect him to be back next year. And I think that there were a lot of things that contributed to some of the struggles at both of his groups this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another thing too, DeMario's got a lot of experience, man. He's got over a decade of head coaching experience, and I think that probably means something to a staff that is relatively young, or at least at the very, very top of the staff, right? So I do think there's some added value there. I do think that, Boise State, they need to get that back to the top of what they do, right? Like even almost put it up on. They have in the team room, they talk about their main goals: win the Mountain West Conference Championship and win a bowl game, and do so with class and
not
integrity.
Get beat over the top every other play.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But I do believe when Boise State was good, man, they took so much pride in their special teams. So how much time do they devote to that in practice?
Yeah.
Those are things like that. I don't necessarily know. It wasn't great this year. I like the stat that you and David dug up. I think I saw that on Twitter.
Yep, right. And I have to give our guy Mark Moss credit for this, because Mark Moss reached to, I always give him crap for sometimes being a negative guy, and I think he did have a negative premise to this, but he reached out and asked me, "Hey, I don't think they had a non-offensive touchdown this year. Do you remember one? And when was that? That probably hasn't happened in a while." So I went and looked, and I couldn't find one, and I reached out to David and was like, "Hey, man, I don't think they had an offensive touchdown this year. I don't see one. When was the last time that happened?" And he got back to me, 1984.
Yeah, it's a long time, man.
The last time you don't have any kind of kick return, blocked, punt, nothing, pick six. I mean, Marion McCoy almost had the pick six in the LA Bowl, which would have been a huge play there, I think, on the 3rd play of the game. But again, you're going back, and we've gone back in the record books way too many times the last couple of years here, Jay, for the wrong reasons. But 1984 with no kick return or no touchdown that was not on offense, defense, or special teams. No fumble return for a touchdown, no interception return for a touchdown, no kick return, no punt return, no blocked field goal return, nothing. First time since 1984.
That's a long time. And that's something that, it's not like even if they don't get a touchdown on, non-offensive touchdown next year, you do feel like they need to pose or be a little bit more of a threat. I know they took a lot of fair catches this last year, especially when Caden Dudley went down, their kick returner. They almost fair caught every single kickoff. I mean, they virtually took that out of the game, right?
I don't know if did George Holani have a return when he went back there? He'd catch him, but I don't know if he ever actually returned.
Wright would go back there too, and I don't think he had very many returns.
Only one blocked kick, by the way, this year too, which was lower than previous years.
Yeah, so that is an area where it's hard to pin it on one guy, because they do divvy that up. I mean, I know that there's a guy with a special teams coordinator title, but there are people responsible for the kicking game, and there are people responsible for the return. And they do divvy that up a little bit. So it's something they're really going to have to look at. The one thing I will say, and he's not even a full-time paid assistant coach,
Rasa.
Hard to ignore what the kicking game did this year, whether it be Jonah Dalmas or James Ferguson Reynolds. Those two guys performed at an incredibly high level. Yep. And, we don't necessarily know the future of Jonah Dalmas, but man, I think we were talking about this in the press box. I don't know how much more he has to prove at this level, man. He walks on that field, and you feel like he is an NFL kicker because you know that freaking ball is going through the uprights, no matter the distance, no matter the moment. Like, he has just become so darn consistent.
Yep.
And he really only had one miss this entire year, and it was from 54 yards. The other 2 misses that he had were both blocked. I mean, he had an incredible year. It's unfortunate that he never got his due, with his kicking honor, or the national kicking honor, to be honest.
Yeah, they got to find some more money for Tyler Rasa and get him to stick around, because I know he was one of those kind of, I don't even know what they called him, a GA or an analyst or whatever the actual role was, but I know that he was
I think it was kind of more of an analyst role, but
yeah,
I'm not positive.
I know that was like, he wasn't even making full-time like wages. I mean, they got to find some more money for Tyler Rasa, and I agree with you. I am starting to lean based on some stuff I've hearing, Jay. I don't know about you, what you're thinking on Dalmas. I'm not reporting anything. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just saying at this point, fans might want to be prepared to have a new kicker next year.
I'm just going with my gut. Like, you look at his performance. Like, I think I said it at the top of this. I don't know how much more he has to prove at this level. He's just, man, he really is one of the most consistent, productive players in Boise State history. Like, he was just automatic this year.
No, he was. All right, this is a Taco Bell Tuesday here at Bronco Nation News Live. I got my sporting the SON management hat today. We appreciate the Nicolason family and Taco Bell. If you're looking for a new job, Taco Bell's hiring, and you can go check them out. Again, TacoBellWorks.com, and they'll give you half your wages the very next day after your shift. So if you're looking for some quick cash, maybe Taco Bell is the opportunity for you. You get free food as well, and I know they have the breakfast quesadillas and all the great food there at Taco Bell, so make sure you check them out, TacoBellWorks.com. Jay, let's take a quick 90-second timeout, switch the transition to the transfer portal. Should fans be concerned? The lack of news, the lack of updates, the ranking and the recruiting rankings right now going into signing day tomorrow. Where are we on the recruiting front? We'll discuss that next here in 90 seconds on Bronco Nation News. All Bronco Nation News broadcasts come from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mix premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Our title sponsor is rowpaint.com. For all your commercial, industrial, residential painting needs, check out rowpaint.com. Don't forget about their concrete coatings. Transform that ugly concrete slab on your back patio in your garage in just one day. Contact rowpaint.com for a free estimate today. The official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, and our title sponsor at Bronco Nation News is rowpaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union's been helping members achieve financial success for more than 80 years. There's an ICCU branch on almost every corner, but the closest is in your pocket with free eBranch mobile and online banking. See why more than 500,000 members love ICCU, and join 1 in 4 Idahoans by making the switch today at ICCU.com. Since 1984, Ridley's Family Markets has prided itself on being a hometown food and drug store that employed value members of the local community. Ridley's Family Markets has 13 locations in the state of Idaho and many more in the surrounding states. Download the new Ridley's app to your smartphone. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line, and find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Former Bronco Matt Bauscher is once again the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. No home is too big or too small for Matt and his team. Let them fulfill all your real estate needs at BauscherRealEstate.com. Worried me there for a second, Jay. Thought I was going to be going solo, but Jay popped back on there. Jay, what do you make of the recruiting rankings? And there's a little feedback. I don't know where that's coming from. I'm going to mute you for a second, Jay. There's a little, the recruiting rankings don't have Boise State with the top, class right now. Some don't have them second, third. I mean, you have to go down a little bit, which we're not used to here for the Mountain West. I know there's going to be some surprises. Some things will happen here moving forward. But before we get into the transfer portal, I guess just in general, I know they got Gaines flipped last week, but in terms of the transition to the coach and the recruiting rankings and where they're at in terms of the number of commits from the high school ranks and I guess the class as a whole, where are you there ahead of signing day tomorrow?
Well, one thing that I haven't necessarily done yet is gone through and really compare who all is leaving. Like, what do they even have available? How many guys can they actually really, take in this recruiting class? So that's something that I'll probably do in the next 24 hours. But, I think there was some positive momentum late. They got a couple late commits when Boise State had an interim head coach in Spencer Danielson. And so hours after he was named the head coach, then one of their highest rated recruits decommits from a, what was a Pac-12 school, I guess, will soon be a Big 12 school, and they flip him. So, yeah, maybe some work to be done, I guess, BJ, but it'll be interesting to see Spencer's strategy in all of this, right? Like, there is a certain tactic that once you get through all this, and more guys will hit the transfer portal after signing day, once, their futures become a little clearer at their respective institutions, how many spots do you save to go attack those types of guys, right? And that's all something that's going to have to kind of play out. We're going to have to be a little patient for, but, I do expect Boise State to utilize the portal once again.
Yeah, which, a lot of people are saying, why hasn't there been news? Why have they only offered 6 players? Why have they only done this? Where are they with a quarterback? What do you make of the lack of public confirmation in terms of news, visits, offers? There's obviously a lot more going on behind the scenes, but I think fans are a little nervous that they're seeing players leaving the portal and visiting and going to all these schools all over the country, and it's been fairly quiet so far at Boise State.
Well, I mean, there might be something to that. I'm not going to dismiss that completely. I won't dismiss that completely, but I will also add this, that Boise State was operating without a permanent head coach until, about 2 weeks ago. And then right after he was named the head coach, there was a bowl game that they had to prepare for. And so that's why I would expect this week to be a very, very busy week for them. And even after this week to be a very, very busy week. They're not done. They're far from finished. And I especially when you look at who they want to add out of the portal, as I previously mentioned on this, just this morning, it's not so simple for them where they can just go out and pay who they believe is top-notch talent that can fit in their program. They still have to recruit. They still have to sell their program. They still have to sell the Boise State brand and all those things, and find the person that is willing to take that as, the main thing that they want to get out of this college experience. And so that might just take a second, while other schools that might not win at the clip that Boise State does, but they have more money to offer. It might just take a little bit longer to figure out if a guy wants that, or if he wants to be the starting, quarterback or whatever at Boise State.
So according to the 247 rankings, Jay, Boise State currently has the number 4 ranked recruiting class in the Mountain West Conference. You've got Colorado State, UNLV, San Diego State all ahead of Boise State. Boise State with no 4 or 5-star recruits at this point, 16 total commits at this point for Boise State. So any concern that they're number 4 in the Mountain West right now?
The only thing I'll say about that is Boise State's brought in a number of 4-star guys in the past, right, BJ? How many of those 4-star guys have really worked out here?
Was George Solani 4-star?
He might have been teetering on a 4-star, but you want to go back and you talk about Dylan Sumner Gardner.
That was the first one that came to mind.
Even Hank Bachmeier, great kid, great dude. Hopefully he has success at Wake Forest next year, but it didn't necessarily work out like you wanted a 4-star thing to work out at Boise State, right? Like, it wasn't just an automatic assumed success, name into the Boise State record books, all over the place. Just it wasn't really like that. I know they've had some other 4-star guys that you would look at and you're like, yep, it's the 4-star thing at Boise State is far from a given. Like, it almost feels like a coin flip. It's no more secure than them recruiting and developing a 3-star guy, in my opinion, if you go back and look at it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But in terms of the portal news, Jay, tomorrow is signing day, but it's not the end of this at all. A lot of these players are going to play in their bowl game and then decide to transfer. I would say
look at Western Kentucky's quarterback. By the way, I don't think Boise State's recruiting Western Kentucky's quarterback, but look at that situation yesterday in what was a makeshift bowl game because the Bahamas Bowl couldn't happen. And the sponsor was Toast. Literally,
and they're stealing the I don't like the famous toastery. They're stealing the famous Idaho potato. Come on.
But it was the sponsor was Toast. Made up bowl game. Quarterback that had thrown 6 passes in his career is currently in the transfer portal. Led one of the most epic comebacks in bowl history. That's just college football in a nutshell right there. But that guy, he's a guy that's obviously anticipating a transfer despite playing in his team's bowl game. And there's just going to be more bodies, more talent that hits the transfer portal as we get a little deeper into December. And to reiterate, if you don't have the money just to go out and lure somebody away from a school that you like, it's going to be, you're going to have to be a little patient with this. I mean, how many other Mountain West schools have secured a big time, you would consider a big time transfer quarterback at this point? And I don't know if there's been any that you're really jealous of.
Yeah, that's probably true. I would agree with that. And I get folks worry, but I would say that it doesn't have to be done by tomorrow. There's plenty of time left. You can get back into January.
It's going to happen though. Like I think it happens. I think they get a quarterback out of the transfer portal.
A starting quarterback, like someone that's like a legit quarterback.
I think they get somebody that is within well reason that will contend for the starting quarterback job in 2024. And by the way, that's not to say they don't have tremendous confidence in Maddox Madsen. I just think that Maddox's injury puts them in an interesting situation. Again, from what I've been told, Maddox, 2024 is not in jeopardy, folks. Like he'll be fine by the season opener. He'll be fine by fall camp. I think that you'll see him out there a little bit. I'm not saying full contact, in practice, anything like that, but he will start to work his way back in the spring. Maybe it depends on, we don't know when spring ball is, right? It depends on when it falls in the calendar, but I do think there's a chance that you just at least see him around in some capacity, participating in some way, shape, or form.
Grant says, what about WTF? Are we not rocking with CJ Tiller? He can ball.
I mean, you can't go into spring ball with what you have currently available. And that is CJ Tiller, who is coming off a true freshman year. He'll be a redshirt freshman in the spring. Colt Fulton, is still outside of the 2-point conversion, has never attempted a pass in a game, and he's a walk-on. And then outside of that, you have Max Cutforth, another walk-on that's a true freshman this year. And then you'll bring in, the quarterback that's currently committed in this class. I can't remember. I think he said it. Now I'm blanking if he's going to enroll early or not. I think he is. But those are the quarterbacks you're going into spring ball with to try to make your whole team better. That's just a tough scenario, man. Like it just is. And so if Maddox was healthy, I think there'd be a little bit less pressure to figure that out. And you're focusing on developing the guys below him. But without him and his leadership, I really think you got to bring somebody in here to, again, not just help the quarterback situation, but really start to build the offense overall for how you want it to look in 2024.
By the way, Jay, we're talking bowl games. I want to let folks know with the famous Idaho Potato Bowl coming up this week on Friday, in conjunction with the Idaho Youth Sports Commission, they're doing an event where some players on both teams will be there, and they'll be providing some shoes and some cleats to some folks around town that are unable to purchase them, and they are using the money from the Bronco Nation News Golf Tournament to purchase the shoes for the youngsters around town. So thank you to you, Jay, for coming out, giving up your time last year at the tournament, all the other folks that came out, the folks that bought sponsorships, bought time to play in the golf tournament. We gave $8,000 to the Idaho Youth Sports Commission from the golf tournament, and they are using that to purchase some shoes and cleats and things for some underprivileged kids, some kids in the valley that are unable to afford new shoes. And they'll be getting fitted by the players in the bowl game for that on Friday. And just want to let everybody know what their money and hard-earned money is going towards. And so shout out to all of you guys that were involved in the golf tournament, and happy that we're going to I think it's 50 or 60 kids that are going to get brand new shoes on Friday, thanks to everybody that was involved in the golf tournament in association with the Idaho Youth Sports Commission. So
shout out to BNN. I know that they do a great job with that every year. I think is he going to be at Bishop Kelly again this year?
No, this one's in conjunction with Shields getting ready to open. So it's I don't know if it's open to the public or not, but so I don't want to say exactly where it is, but it's in conjunction with Shields. Yeah, they've done the canned food thing in the past and making the meals, and now there might be multiple events, but at least one of them now it's called Sneakers for Kids, and the Idaho Youth Sports Commission is involved in that, and they're using some money that we had from BNN. So that's a cool thing.
Well done, bud.
With the game. But final thing, Jay, before I let you go, I'll keep this going, but I did want to get one thought from you on Thursday's Washington State, Boise State basketball game. Obviously, you follow both programs pretty closely as an alum at Washington State. Washington State has 2 losses, and they're both to the 2 best teams they've played this year. A lot of other nice wins against, not great competition. Their computer metrics are still fairly high, though, so this is a important game for Boise State. Your thoughts on Spokane Arena on Thursday night?
Well, neutral site. I mean, at least for now, this is a chance at a quad 1 win, right?
If they're top 50 in the net, yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a nice little opportunity. I mean, they got to stay there, which I don't know if I have tremendous confidence about.
They're 43. They're 43 right now in the net. Yeah.
I don't know if I have tremendous confidence that they're going to stay in the top 50, but they are right now. So you could bill it as a quad 1 win right now going into Christmas break. You come back, you got another non-conference game before you start up Mountain West Conference play. It would be a very nice resume building victory for Boise State, no doubt. So that's why it would be significant for the Broncos to go get this thing. Boise State now has to show that they can do this on the road, right? They have came back to Extra Mile Arena. They have shot the ball incredibly well. They have had a lot of consistency and comfort, I think, that they finally deserved by playing a few home games in a row. But now they got to go out. I know it's a neutral court site, but as you and I have both said, this is basically a road game for the Broncos. And they got to go out and prove it. And if Roddy Anderson can continue to play like he's played the last 2 games, I really like this team's chances. Chibuzo Wabo's not slowing down. Tyson Dagenhart's not slowing down. Max Rice is only heating up. The big 3 is finding their consistency again. And if you got them, I think you like your chances just about anybody left on Boise State's schedule. But now you're open to throw into the fact that Omar Stanley's coming off his first career double-double. Roddy Anderson is starting to play the style and the brand of basketball that Boise State needs him to play. They don't need the flash. They don't need the sizzle. They just need the simple right play. Yeah. And it really seems like it's starting to come together, BJ. It really does. And this will be a nice chance to see it out on the road in more of a hostile environment instead of the cozy confines of Extra Mile Arena for these guys.
We'll keep the basketball discussion going. I got some comments I want to get to as well. Going to take our final quick 90-second timeout. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep Bronco Nation News live going here. Basketball talk, whatever other comments, thoughts you guys have in the ICCU YouTube chat. We'll do that next here on Bronco Nation News. Bronco Nation News is sponsored by Tommy Ahlquist and Ball Ventures Ahlquist, Idaho's premier commercial real estate development company. BVA projects specialize in office, retail, flex, medical, and industrial spaces located at some of the most strategic and visible locations in the valley. Need a developer? Looking for new space? Think BVA. At BVA, we are Idaho's developer. The Nicolason family and SON management have proudly been operating Taco Bell restaurants in and around the Treasure Valley since 1969. One of the first to make a 7-figure donation to the Lyle Smith Society, they've also stepped up their support of Boise State athletics with the Taco Bell men's and women's basketball endowed scholarships. The Nicolason family and SON management have committed at least $310,000 by 2026. Get more information on their financial support of Boise State athletics and find information on applying to work at Taco Bell at tacobellworks.com. Lithia Ford of Boise is a proud supporter of Boise State athletics and the official car and truck of the Broncos. Lithia Ford of Boise supports Bronco student athletes through NIL deals, including providing Ford vehicles to Taylon Green and Riley Smith from the football team and Paige Barsh from the volleyball team. Rain's family purchased our F-150 from Lithia Ford. Couldn't be happier with the purchase. Check out the all-electric F-150 Lightning or the electric Mustang Mach-E at Lithia Ford, and make sure to check out their full inventory of vehicles at lithiafordboise.com. The Blue and Orange Store is the perfect spot to get all your gear for your next Bronco game. The Blue and Orange Store has official Nike apparel, including jerseys, shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, hats, and more. Wear what the Broncos wear and get it at the Blue and Orange Store, the second floor of the Boise Town Square Mall, or get free shipping on a $40 order online at theblueandorangestore.com. We got our poll up on the YouTube chat. If you want to go, let us know what you think. Are you concerned about the transfer portal, the lack of news there for Boise State? And it's pretty much 50-50. I think it's 51 for no and 49 for yes, with about 80 votes or so already. So curious the pulse of Bronco Nation here, if you're concerned or not with the transfer portal. Again, that continues and goes for several weeks here moving forward. So just because you don't have tomorrow, if there's 15 names on the announcement tomorrow, there could be 10 more added in the following weeks in early January and things. So I wouldn't freak out too much just yet. I think it's a fair concern. They're fourth in the Mountain West. On paper, the class is not one of the best classes they've had in a while, but I still think there is a lot of time for them to make some additions. And Spencer Danielson has had a lot going on here, trying to add the coaching staff and stuff as well. So get on the YouTube chat there, the ICCU YouTube chat. and let us know your answer. Speaking of ICCU, a programming note, Tyson Degenhart show is going to be the day after Christmas, the 26th. We're looking at December 26th. For the next edition of the Tyson Degenhart Show. We're hoping to have Lexus Williams on the show, and I believe Chibuzo Abo as well. So looking forward to that. December 26th is the next edition of the Tyson Degenhart Show, again, presented by Idaho Central Credit Union. ICCU.com was moving some money over this morning. It's just so easy using the app they have, the ICCU app. It's highly recommended, and the eBranch mobile online banking is just so easy. You literally go into an ICCU branch one time when you sign up for your account. You never have to go back. You can do it all from your computer or your phone. So we really appreciate Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU, for their support, and hope you'll go check them out. And by the way, Bronco Brew Coffee was emailing with Scott Anthony with Bronco Brew this morning, actually. So broncobrew.coffee, make the switch today. He was very complimentary, said a lot of listeners have signed up, and they're very happy with their marketing with Bronco Nation News. So keep him feeling good, keep him wanting to advertise, and all of our advertisers. But roasted to order coffee. They don't roast it till you order it. 24 hours later, it's out the door, and you can get a subscription set up where every week you don't have to mess with it. You just get one delivered right there. And this is the perfect Christmas gift, by the way. You look at the size of this, the affordability, the cost. Get some coffee for your friends for Christmas. It's a great Christmas gift, great stocking stuffer, and highly recommend it. And again, they're an official partner of Boise State Athletics. They're also donating money to the NIL fund at Boise State. So you're literally putting a couple bucks into a pocket of an athlete of your choice at Boise State with the purchase of Bronco Brew Coffee. So check them out, broncobrew.coffee. And I would think you'll be highly satisfied with the product, and you're helping Boise State at the same time. And again, you're helping Bronco Nation News, so we appreciate that as well. Jay mentioned the basketball game, and Washington State does come in at number 43, I believe it is right now, in the net ranking. So this would be a quad one win, and more than that, it would help Boise State's computer rankings. Boise State is number 78 in the net ranking. They've got a little work to do there. For whatever reason, the computers have really not valued or given them a ton of credit for their losses they had to the good teams earlier in the season. And I was looking at some of the numbers, because I know folks were asking about, kind of where Boise State stands out this year compared to some of the previous years. And I think the big thing that stands out that we talked about yesterday with Johnny is no bad losses. I mean, they have 3 losses. You look at where they're at, and the best losses, or I guess worst losses versus best wins. The worst losses, I mean, they made the NCAA tournament in 2022 when they lost to Cal State Bakersfield, who was 276th at KenPom, and they lost to UC Irvine, who was 133rd. They got an NCAA tournament bid out of that. Last year, they lost to South Dakota State, 174th at KenPom. It's a quad 4 loss. And they lost to Charlotte, who finished 106th at KenPom. 2 losses outside the top 100 in each of those 2 years. And they got at-large bids. So you look at their bad losses this year, it's Butler at 58, and it's Virginia Tech at 55. If you're able to not lose to any bad teams and you don't have any bad losses on your resume, it's going to be hard to keep this team out. So they're in a good position, even though the computers don't love them right now. If they keep winning games, those numbers will flip. You do look at it and say, okay, what were the best non-conference wins of the last couple of years? In 2022, they beat Washington State, who was 44th, and they beat Santa Clara, who was 76th. Last year, they got a big bump from the Texas A&M one. Texas A&M finished 33rd, and Utah Valley was 64th. Those are their top 2. So far, St. Mary's at 64, San Francisco at 70. So you could use the Washington State game here. I know at KenPom, they're only like 66 right now too. But it would be nice if you're Boise State to get this one. And you may not have the high-end non-conference win, but you have the whole cumulative effect of the wins you have, I think, is going to be better. This would be a 5th top 100 win for Boise State at KenPom if they're able to get it. And you look at the last couple of years, and I'm only going the last 2 years because those are years they also got at-large bids to the tournament. So you say, what they do the last 2 years, and then how can they do that again this year? In 2022, they had 7 games against, and this is the entire season, okay, counting conference play. They had 7 games against teams in the top 60 at KenPom. 7, 2 years ago. Last year, they only had 5. They only had 5 games all of last season for how good the Mountain West supposedly was. They only had 5 games all season against teams that finished in the top 60 at KenPom. This year, they've already had 8. and they're going to have 13 for the season. So 2024, they're scheduled to have 13 games this season against teams in the top 60 at KenPom. So their strength of schedule is going to be way better. Their opportunity for wins is going to be way better. And as long as they just avoid the quote unquote bad losses, I think this team is still going to be in a pretty good spot here for the NCAA tournament moving forward. Roy is asking about Ball Talk. There is going to be a Ball Talk episode in early January after they have the final 4 games on New Year's. We're going to do one the following week to get set for the championship game on the 8th, I believe it is. So there will be a Ball Talk in early January to wrap up the season. We'll let you know. Terrific coverage, BNN Rocks. Appreciate you there. Grant's calling it a must-win game against Washington State. Must win the non-conference games. I mean, again, it would not be a bad loss if you lost to them. They're ranked 66th at KenPom right now. They're number 43 in the net. It's a quad 1 game, so it wouldn't be a bad loss, but it would certainly be a nice win, a quad 1 win, a solid win if you were able to get it. Again, that would give you 5 non-conference wins against teams in the top 100 at KenPom. It would be for now a quad 1 win as a neutral site game there, as Jay was talking about. And then you have Utah Valley, and I think it's a big game for a lot of reasons, but also just to kind of keep this winning streak going. And you have Utah Valley, a nice quality home game coming up on Friday the 29th. Somebody was asking about tickets. I think they're as cheap as like $10 for that game, the Utah Valley game on Friday the 29th. But if you're able to beat Washington State, and then you beat Utah Valley, and then you go to San Jose State and get a win there to start conference play, you could come back on Tuesday, January 9th. They host Colorado State. And by the way, this game is right now only slated to be on the Mountain West Network. I think Jay Tust is going to be on the call for Boise State, Colorado State. January 9th, if Boise State can win these next 3 games, Boise State will be on an 8-game winning streak. They'll be 11-3. They'll be 1-0 in Mountain West play, and they'll have maybe the number 10, 11 team in the nation coming in. There's a couple weeks left. If Colorado State can keep winning, you're going to have a top 15 team for sure. I think they're number 16 in the polls this week. You could have a highly ranked Colorado State team coming in. That would certainly be a huge resume building opportunity for you against Colorado State. And that place you would assume would be sold out and rocking on January 9th. So keep building this momentum. If they get the win against Washington State, and then if they can go and make sure they don't stub their toe down in San Jose like they did last year. If you're on an 8-game winning streak and you're 11-3 and you got Colorado State coming into Extra Mile Arena, like that could be a lot of fun there in a couple of weeks. So Sam says got to sell out Extra Mile Arena. Grant says, great show. Keep it up. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Need to do a ball talk with Boucher and Johnny for basketball. We'll see if we can work on that. But didn't BSU win the conference in 22? They did win the regular season conference, yes. And I guess they did get the automatic bid, but they would have got an at-large bid anyway, I guess is the point there. But yes, thank you, Dennis, for watching. And you're correct. They won the conference and also won the conference tournament, but they were going to get an at-large bid no matter what if they had lost the conference title game. But I guess, and it also proves the point that, yeah, they won the conference when they lost to Cal State Bakersfield and UC Irvine. Boise State has no bad losses right now, and they really don't have any coming up that they could be considered bad losses. I guess the San Jose game would be in the Utah Valley home game, but if they can take care of business, win the games they're supposed to win, and pick off some of these big-time opponents, particularly at home, that 20-game home winning streak, you'd love to see that reach 29 this year, because that would mean they'd be undefeated at home this season. And if you go undefeated at home this season, and you got wins over Colorado State, Nevada, New Mexico, San Diego State, like, you're going to the NCAA tournament. So I think that there's a lot of reason for optimism. Maybe we'll get the video fixed for pregame. I was a little critical of that, but I will say I was wrong in some of my criticism. I didn't realize they also played the video last year. The main issue is they're just working on the timing. The timing's off a little bit, and I guess for these Mountain West Network games, it's a little not as strict as when the TV can tell them they're ready to start the game. So I would assume that, and I would tell you with confidence, they're working on that, and they're going to have that fixed here moving forward. And so don't worry about the video board and the sound. They're doing a great job there, and I think it's going to be fixed, and they'll get that place rocking, because last year there was nothing better, man. Michael Buffer, let's get ready to rumble. The crowd on its feet clapping. I mean, that was awesome last year. And we haven't had that yet this year. It has been missing. There hasn't been much atmosphere at tip-off, which was kind of my point. But they're working on it, and they're going to get that fixed. And I think for some of these big conference games coming up, they're going to have that place rocking at tip-off. Sam is saying something about Prater ripping the 20-game home winning streak. Doesn't surprise me, but I didn't hear that. We'll talk to Prater tomorrow and ask him about that. But I mean, you do have a lot of games in that streak against some pretty poor teams, so it's not a huge surprise. Can I start the rally to get Jock Jams back? It's coming back. It's coming back. It will be back. It's always been there. They've just gotten to the tip-off too quickly to where the song could really play. So give them a little time. They're working on it, and they're going to, as I said, once you get to these games where it's CBS Sports or Fox Sports 1, there's usually a longer delay, so there's more time to play it. But I'm confident that they'll have that going here pretty soon. I know they're working hard on it, and I've been to every Mountain West arena. San Diego State is rocking at tip-off. Otherwise, there's not an atmosphere better at tip-off, in my opinion. New Mexico's pretty good, but what they had last year at tip-off with the Jock Jams playing and the whole crowd on its feet, I thought was electric, and that's the only reason I brought it up in the first place. I just wondered why it wasn't happening this year, but there's a number of reasons behind it, and no need to criticize Boise State. They're working on it, and I know that'll be fixed here in the near future. Will they bring back the phone light thing? That was cool last year, though glitchy. I don't know what the plan is for the phone light thing and turning out the lights. I mean, they have the opportunity to do that now because of the LED lighting and things that they have in the stadium. So I do think that that's something they could look at to bring back here. And again, you got Utah Valley coming up on the 29th, and then you get right into it with conference play. Your first home conference game is maybe the best team in the conference, Colorado State. So right off the bat, Tuesday the 9th, they're going to need a huge crowd. And again, if they've won 3 games in a row in this stretch and they're on an 8-game winning streak and they're 11-3, I mean, that could be a marquee matchup in all of college basketball at that point for Boise State. So a lot of exciting times ahead. Again, I would expect another announcement or two probably today on the coaching staff, adding some more names to the coaching staff. Signing day is tomorrow, so maybe you get a commitment at some point today, or we'll find out tomorrow. We'll have our live signing day blog on BroncoNationNews.com starting about 5 o'clock in the morning. So we'll be up early tomorrow. You can continue to refresh and follow our signing day coverage at BroncoNationNews.com. We'll have our live blog right there on the main page. And make sure you subscribe at BroncoNationNews.com. BNN 50 deal. We're giving a full year for $50. If you want to stay up to date on all these recruits and all the coverage of signing day tomorrow, all the coverage of all the assistant coaches that are being hired, retained, all the news related to Boise State, you got to be a subscriber. So check it out, BroncoNationNews.com. And again, the promo code BNN50 deal. And again, you can start about 5:30 in the morning tomorrow with our live signing day blog. And we'll keep you up to date on what's happening with Boise State, any surprises, both positively or negatively. And as the signings come in and get announced by Boise State, we'll be tracking them and keeping them updated there at BroncoNationNews.com. So appreciate you guys for checking us out today. We will see if any other news happens today on the coaching front, on the transfer front. Boise State is actually leaving today for Spokane since there's no school this week. They're going to get up there an extra day early, and I think they're having a team meal at Tyson Degenhardt's house at some point here up there in Spokane. And so, and again, we'll talk about it tomorrow and Thursday, but Boise State has a cool opportunity. Both Tyson Degenhardt and Max Rice need 20 points to reach 1,000. They're both at exactly 980 points, and they both have a chance in their hometown in Spokane to get to the 1,000-point mark, and that'll be pretty cool if both those guys could get there. And if they do it in the same game on Thursday, you got to feel pretty good about Boise State's chances of finding a way to win that one. So looking forward to getting up there to Spokane on Thursday, but a lot of work to do before then, including signing day tomorrow. So we'll have you covered with all the news that happens today. And of course, signing day tomorrow. Again, our live blog get rolling about 5:30 in the morning. And then we'll have our live show with Mike Prater at 9 a.m. And we'll keep you up to date on the signings as they roll in live on the show at 9 a.m. Tomorrow morning with Mike Prater. So appreciate you guys. Go subscribe if you can. BNN 50 deal. Is that promo code, or I guess it's called a coupon code on the site, gets you your first full year for $50. And that's how you can read the blog and all the things we'll have up there tomorrow. Mike Prater's working on a season wrap-up column as well that you're going to want to make sure you pay to read. And I got a lot of other great content coming as well. I know football season's over, but there's football season never ends at Bronco Nation News. Again, signing day, coaching news, transfer portal news, off-season workouts starting in early January, and then you go right into spring ball, and obviously got basketball to keep us busy and follow, which I think is going to be a fun couple of months there as well. So have a great rest of your day. Tell your friends. Go subscribe. If you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, please switch over to YouTube, youtube.com/Bronco Nation News, and subscribe there. If you can click that little like button at the bottom of the screen, the subscribe button, we'd appreciate that in the algorithms as well. So please help us out, support us, tell your friends. And again, we'll have you covered. BroncoNationNews.com when the news breaks. Any kind of Boise State news, we'll have you covered. And again, 5 a.m. tomorrow, 5:30 or so for the live signing day blog. And then 9 a.m., Mike Prater and I will discuss the signings and some other Boise State happenings as well. So have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. Go subscribe if you can. Appreciate it. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com.